It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. We're here and this is episode number 21
Wow.
of our podcast where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
More chickens.
more chickens. We drink a ton of coffee. I'm talking a ton. But most importantly,
We hug chickens every day.
every day and kiss them too, don't forget. We brew coffee from a little coffee house here in Bel Air, Maryland. Coffee. Holly Ann, what kind of coffee are we brewing today?
We're back to hazelnut today.
Hazelnut, one of my most favorites. If you are a big fan of delicious coffee and awesome scones and cookies and baked goods, head on over to Coffee. You will not be disappointed.
Hey.
We are here in late April.
Yeah,
We're cruising.
We are. We're 4 days away from the Maryland Poultry Swap.
Once again, we're so excited
Mm-hmm.
to be a part of this. We're going to have our table. We're going to have some wares out there. Hey,
Yeah.
that rhymed. Wares out there. Yeah.
Chicken lady goods.
So, yeah, and we're excited about these goods.
Yeah, we'll have our new teas, which are fantastic. I guess we can say it now. We've kept it under wraps for a bit.
Yes.
We commissioned the amazing Laurel Jackson
Yes.
at Soulful Chickens to create 2 designs for us
Oh, man.
for our t-shirts and other merchandise down the line, and they are fantastic.
They're absolutely gorgeous. It's like walking around with a piece of art.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
That's
'cause
why
she's-
we wanted her to do
she's
this
so
for us.
amazingly gifted. Mhm.
Yeah, we're super excited for everyone to come down and see everything. Plus, the other good thing is they will be available online to purchase.
Yeah, we'll have them on our Etsy shop, link in our Instagram bio and on the show notes.
Yep.
We will also have some of our vintage goods for sale at the
Yes.
poultry shop.
Our farmhouse vintage corner.
And I'll be selling some of the wool from my sheep and llamas and alpacas.
Yay!
Lots of stuff to see and do.
Plus, just come out and talk to us. We're going to be there all day. Talk chickens with us.
They can talk to us and they can walk around and look at other amazing chickens.
We've been before. It's amazing.
It's a good time.
Lots of chickens,
Mm-hmm.
food, fun, music, everything.
If you're interested, you can check out Green Hill Farm on Facebook and find the Maryland Poultry Swap page.
They have a page with all the information, and it's in Western Maryland. If you're local, come on
Mhm.
over and see us.
Yeah, fingers crossed for good weather. What's the other exciting thing that's going on with us?
This is super exciting. We are celebrating 5,000 downloads.
How
Woohoo!
amazing is that? Thank you to all of our fantastic listeners.
Thank you.
We're so excited.
We're so grateful for everyone who's listening to us and being a part of this with us.
When we started the podcast, we wanted to talk about the things we liked, and we figured there were other like-minded people, but we were not prepared for the outpouring of love that we have gotten from our listeners. You all are amazing.
It's awesome. Everybody that reaches out to us, we love it. Keep it up.
We have the best job in the world.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Plus, best friends of 40 years and we get to hang out as grown-ups all the time.
Best job in the world.
And make it our work. Hey,
Chickens.
doesn't get better.
No.
But let me take a minute to tell you about Iowa Blue Farm. It's a woman-owned, family-run, all-natural chicken treat company in the Midwest. They make 100% American oven-dried black soldier fly grubs for all kinds of poultry.
Chickens.
Turkeys,
Ducks.
pheasants,
Quail.
peacocks. I always say peacocks. Any kind of poultry that you have, they love these things. They're high in calcium and protein.
What about pigeons?
I would think you could, or how about doves? I don't know.
You got the last one anyway. Okay, go ahead.
So they come running for this blue bag. They're high every bite in protein and calcium. They need it this time of the year. If you go and it's your first time on this website and you want to try, put in the code COFFEE, all caps, 25, and you get 25% off your first order.
Which is a fantastic value.
Yes.
And we use these treats. This is really good quality stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Made in the United States. You know exactly what you're feeding your birds. We cannot recommend them highly enough.
They're baked with love.
Ship with care.
And shipping is always free. So, it's time to move on to the breed spot. We're going to do a breed that I actually own, the Marans.
Now, I will tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, I think Marans are nice. They were never one of my favorite breeds. So I will admit that I went into the research for this breed spotlight not expecting to get sucked into the fascinating history of this chicken.
The world of the Marans.
I seriously was like, I could write a book about this chicken. They're fascinating.
Let me tell you something. I could write a book just about having 2 Marans in my backyard.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, we're going to talk about the mystery of why the stepsisters act the way they do. They get it honestly.
It's genetics.
Yeah, it is.
And you know what? It's a very popular breed.
Yes. It's a very popular French breed of chicken that comes in several color varieties.
Yeah, and I have the Cuckoo Maran.
Right, and Marans as a whole are best known for
dark-colored eggs.
Now, this cracks me up, and I'm showing my age here, but Martha Stewart sort of single-handedly shone a spotlight on this breed and their beautiful dark brown eggs. She had them in the magazine.
Right.
And she made them popular again in a heartbeat.
I mean, who doesn't like an egg that's the color of basically it looks like a chocolate egg.
It's gorgeous. It is.
Ours come out sometimes super dark, sometimes a little lighter, sometimes with speckles, sometimes with stripes.
Right.
The one thing with the Marans, because the pigment is so dark, they have a lot of misfires.
Yeah.
But it happens, and the eggs are all unique.
Well, the interesting thing about brown eggs, as we said in one of our previous episodes,
right,
it was our Easter episode.
Right.
We talked about how eggs get their color, and a brown egg is just a white egg with
hemoglobin.
Right, and it's a hemoglobin derivative.
Right.
Which is fascinating to me. So essentially, the Marans managed to put more hemoglobin derivative.
Their levels are higher
on their eggs than any other breeds.
And when they're firing that stuff, when they're coming out, man, it's a turning and a spinning and all this stuff. And they're like,
those poor hens.
How am I going to make this egg today? It's like stripes or
Can you imagine what eggs would look like if hens were able to control the pigment that they put on them?
They're like, hurry up, paint it before they get out here.
So the Marans are standard sized birds. They're considered dual purpose. They lay dark brown eggs, like we said.
They're standard, but I want to say they could be a little on the larger side.
Yeah.
My 2 are.
So we'll get into this in a minute here as we talk about the history, but it seems that breeders favored making them larger because they were dual-purpose birds.
Right.
And the egg color suffered because of that at a certain point in history, but we'll talk about that more in a bit here. So they're standard-sized birds, considered dual-purpose. They lay the dark brown egg. So there are lots of color varieties of this bird. Silver cuckoos.
Which are mine.
Right. Golden cuckoos. The black copper.
Which is very popular for the darkest colored eggs.
The darkest colored eggs, right. There's a white, which I didn't know.
I did not know that.
There's also a wheaten.
Huh.
Very pretty. The Marans have a straight comb, like medium-sized wattles and red earlobes.
Yes.
They're very popular, obviously, in their native France, but also in the U.S. and the U.K.
Yeah. After talking to Fiona about chicken keeping in the U.S. and the U.K., we're kind of like running parallel.
In a lot of ways, yeah. I believe she has the black copper.
She does. And I feel like we all like the same between the U.S. and the U.K.
Right, a lot. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of the same breed preferences. It's true.
Definitely. You see that.
Orpingtons, Brahmas.
Exactly.
Cochins, Marans.
Yeah.
So, in the United States, they actually really started showing up in the 30s and 40s after the World Wars.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. In the UK, the flocks, especially the cuckoos, have a clean leg.
Yes.
Where in the US and the French standards, they both specify a lightly feathered leg.
So strange. Mine do not have feathered legs.
Right. So maybe your breeding stock was from a UK line?
Maybe.
So the breed was developed in the coastal town of
Marans.
A lot of sources say the breed was developed in the 19th century, but it is way, way older than that.
Okay.
Like hundreds of years older than that. In episode 14, if you remember when we talked to Jeanette Berenger about the Crevecoeur, she said she found the same thing.
Right.
I think showing and breed standards started to show up in the mid to late 19th century.
Right.
But the Crevecoeur and the Marans are both way older than that.
Right.
So in the southern part of France, there was a marsh hen.
Okay.
A marsh hen, right? And it was essentially a landrace breed. So that is the earliest origin of the Marant. So British sailors coming into port would often leave behind their fighting cocks.
Oh.
I know. a disgusting sport that went on for far too long.
Yeah, definitely.
So they would leave these fighting cocks in exchange for some of the native hens and eggs. Well, what happened if you set these fighting cocks free? They went and crossed with the native
marsh hens.
Exactly, right? And they produced the first known cross of the breeds that went into the Marans. Exactly. This went on for a couple of 100 years. And it left the Marans with more than a little bit of the pugnacious personality of these game birds.
So this is where I see these birds. They're very people friendly.
Oh yeah, with people they're great.
But chicken bullies.
They can be chicken bullies. Yeah.
Mine are. I'm speaking only of mine. Like some other ones might not be. Mine.
I've heard the same thing from other people. You know, it probably is flat. It probably depends on a lot of factors.
And we tell them they come across it naturally.
But the reality is they do tend to be, in a mixed flock, a more dominant breed.
They want to rule the roost. Now, here's the thing. In our flock, the Buff Orpingtons rule the roost.
Yes.
They can't get them down from that.
That, I think, is sheer size and seniority. Because your Buff Orpingtons were your first chickens, and they are big girls.
And they sit under them, and then everyone else that's under them, oh, Lord.
Because the Marans are trying to jockey for position by trying to dominate everyone else.
Everybody else under them, watch out.
Yeah.
But to us, they're like, hey, how
They definitely like people.
Let me snuggle with you. And then you put them down, and they're like, oh, yeah, get out of my way. I'm going after you, chicken.
I know. They can be relentless.
But they get it. I mean, if they come from fighting birds, they had to be a little,
assertive. We'll say they're assertive.
There's nothing wrong with an assertive hen.
Except when she's chasing your
Except when she's bullying the other chickens.
Exactly. So the other big development for this breed came in the 19th century when Brahmas and Langshans were bred into the Marans. And that's probably where you got that feathered leg.
Yeah.
After the Second World War, the Marans in France were in serious decline.
Okay.
So for the next 40 years, breeders worked to bring the breed back from endangered status.
Okay.
The French government worked alongside Marans Club and private breeders to increase the numbers, but they did find that the egg size and especially the egg color were suffering as they tried to do this breed back program. Breeders had to work very carefully for a long time to improve the egg color, and as it is, the black copper Maran is still the variety that lays the darkest egg.
They do.
Of all the Marans.
They do. And a lot of times you think that you get every kind of Maran, you're going to get this chocolate colored egg.
Nope.
No. And like I was saying before, when we first started talking about the Marans, they can misfire. So you get a really dark egg one day and then a medium dark egg the next. But it's kind of fun. It's like a grab bag. What are you going to find out there?
I laughed so hard one day you showed me the eggs that were literally striped.
They're striped.
Literally striped.
It's something going on with the way it's firing through there. So it's a great breed. And here's the thing. They're very, very popular. So there's lots of groups that you can go on social media. You can Google and find lots of groups to find people that love these chickens.
There are at least 2 Marans clubs in the U.S. I think one is more show-oriented and one is more pet bird-oriented.
My question is, if you have a whole flock of Marans, would that be less chicken bullying?
That's a good question. It's possible.
Than if you have a mixed flock.
I've heard people who have just Swedish flowers talk about how great they are. But we know my Swedish flowers in the mixed flock are like devil birds.
If everybody is the same, everybody's kind of kept in check.
There must be a pecking order, but it might not be the same relentless level of bullying.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
We have in the mixed flock,
So, like when you have different levels of assertiveness in your chickens, you have a highly assertive chicken. It's going to come out more if you have...
Maybe we should put the Swedish flowers and the Marans together.
We talked about this before.
See what happens there.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know which one would win out.
The Marans are slightly bigger than the Swedish flowers.
So
Those girls, those Swedish flowers, they are the definition of tenacity.
And mine have rays, so they would just be like, oh.
Oh, God. Well, if you have a beret, of course that wins. Yeah, right?
They wish, but they don't. So,
as we were saying before, clubs. So there are at least 2 U.S. clubs. There's a Marans Club of the UK that has a lot of interesting history written up on their website, and the Marans Club of France.
Right.
I think there may also be some Facebook groups.
They're a popular chicken, and they're one now that's easy to find in your feed stores.
Yes. I credit that straight back to Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Because you never saw this chicken before she started featuring those eggs in her magazine.
And then once one person sees these beautiful dark eggs, and everybody's like, where did you get these dark eggs?
Yes.
And this is where. So everyone kind of wants them. Okay, everybody. So it's about that time that we're going to go have coffee with Fiona. Yeah. Hey, Fiona, how are you doing?
Well, now I've got a theme song. I'm amazing. Thank you. That's going to be my new ringtone on my phone, definitely.
Perfect. I love it. So, Holly Ann, we just finished talking about what...
Yeah, our breed spotlight was the Marans, and we know that you have a couple of black copper Marans.
Yeah, we do. Called Thunder and Lightning, and they live up to their names.
Really?
Thunder lays the biggest eggs you've ever seen in your entire life. They're 78 grams on average.
Wow.
Huge.
That is a huge egg. And are they the dark brown that everyone wants?
Very, very dark brown, yeah. A bit like a cabbage cream egg. Are we allowed to have a plug?
Yes.
Do you ever get a few that are speckled? Because we were just talking about Marans and misfiring sometimes. Because I have the 2 cuckoo Marans, and sometimes the eggs tend to be speckled or striped if they misfire.
The pigment can be very irregular with your cuckoo Marans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lightnings they're getting more irregular actually as she's getting a little bit older, but I think that's normal with age. And one of the things I was told was that as the age, the pigment actually gets lighter.
Oh,
okay. So what's your favorite thing about the breed?
Just the enormous size of their eggs. They really are.
There's nothing wrong with a big egg. Nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they're not broody, so we keep them as egg layers. So when our Orpingtons are on brood, we still have eggs in the house. Okay. And they're just so reliable. Nice. They're friendly. There's just nothing about them not to like.
Nice. Now, how are they with their sisters of the chicken world? Do they tend to be stronger in the flock or?
Well, Thunder, because of her sheer size, is head of the coop that she's in. So she's in with the Old English pheasant fowl and the crested cream leg bars as well. And she rules that coop. She goes into sleep first. Yeah. And she's very, very grumpy when she's trying to get to sleep and the others are all coming in. But other than that, yeah, she keeps control. She's very happy. It's been interesting with the avian influenza restrictions having been lifted very recently. We've had the Orpingtons separate from the egg-laying breeds, and we've brought them back in together. Now, Ramesses, our breeding cockerel, has now obviously taken charge of all of the chickens. And I saw him bop Thunder on the head in a major way earlier this afternoon.
Oh, wow. What did she do?
She looked at him in sheer shock and then just went back to eating. It was like, what on earth is happening? Yeah.
Oh, no. He's upsetting the queen.
Poor young girl.
Oh, yeah.
But she's taken to it beautifully. I was actually quite concerned because, she's been so much in control for 4 months with the others. And I thought there'd be a few problems, but no, they've merged beautifully. And he's just decided when she gets a little bit stroppy, bop her on the head, sorts everything out.
That is crazy.
Well, there you go, Chris. When your cuckoo Marans are getting crazy, you just need to throw a roux in there.
Yeah. I mean, they want to rule the roost, but the buffs rule the roost.
So it sounds like as long as the Marans get to be in charge, it's probably harmonious.
Yes.
I think some of it is actually more to do with the fact that the 2 Marans are slightly older than the others, and there does seem to be a seniority according to age, obviously with the exception of Ramesses, because he's the youngest chicken we've got. Right.
But probably
he's a boy.
Much larger than... Yeah, he's a big guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He's big, very big.
Yeah. So the poor Bard Rocks and Lucy the Leghorn get it from the Marans. They're just like, oh, we're going to rule you. That's the way it is. But then they turn around and Buttercup and Bubbles, the Buff Orpingtons, are like, excuse me? I don't think so.
Again, they're a little bigger and they're older. So they rule that coop.
I just love the names Buttercup and Bubbles.
Aren't they cute?
Orpingtons, they're amazing.
They're really cute.
Oh, thank you.
So our conclusion with the Marans is that they're fantastic with people. They're really friendly. They're generally great layers. But maybe they're not the best choice if you have very submissive breeds that they want to boss around.
I would probably say, unless they're all the same age, probably not, because particularly if they're a lot bigger, if you've got any bantams, I wouldn't even put them with bantams.
Okay, I agree.
Personally, but that's my experience of them.
So now that we've talked breeds, I think we're going to go into what we wanted to talk to Fiona about today is intervention when it comes to breeding. And that is when the chick is hatching and what you should or shouldn't do and what kind of plan you should have in place.
So essentially, we want to come up with a breeding plan just in case things don't go the way you think they will, all the things that can go wrong and how you can plan for them.
Yeah, I mean, a backup plan, I think, is a really good idea. And it's worth sitting down, just like with the plan for cockerels, because one egg hatch, you may get a hen, or you'll have 50% chance you get a cockle instead.
Right.
So that's one plan to have. But to actually sit down before you breed and start hatching to decide what your backup is. What are you prepared to do? Do you actually need to buy any equipment?
Mm-hmm.
It's different for everyone. I mean, for me, I've got everything as backup. I mean, we do use broody hens to hatch, and we do use our broody hens to get our next generation. But we still have an incubator. We still have a brooder plate. We still have spare coops. We still make sure that if things go wrong, we can deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I think if I ever get to the point where I actually am hatching or breeding something, I will be the same way. All of the equipment you could possibly have to cover any problem that might come up.
Plus, you have a best friend who was a veterinary technician for 15 years.
Do you have an incubator that I can borrow?
I don't have an incubator. That's part of the equipment that you're going to need to get.
Definitely. Okay. Sorry, Fiona.
But my knowledge is of that tech. I will be there to help you.
Okay. Thank you.
As long as it takes me to drive to your house.
So, Fiona, what is the first scenario that if you're breeding, you might want to be prepared for?
The first one is that you could have hens trying to drag your broody hen off the nest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, particularly if you've got, well, we did talk about a brooding coop as one of the episodes, but this is really something to think about, because if you don't have your broody hen in a separate coop, you're going to have the other hens coming in wanting to lay eggs, potentially have fights and squabbles. Your eggs could get broken.
Mm-hmm.
You could have injuries to both hens because the broody hen will defend the nest.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Defend it in a major way. So do you want to separate them out, or do you want to take that risk and just see what happens? Personally, we always put our broody hens in a separate coop with a separate run, get them out of the way.
Yeah.
And if you're serious about wanting it to work, that would be the best decision to make, is to make it as easy as you can on the broody hen and give her a spot that is comfortable and has everything she needs, and she doesn't even have to deal with it, so that doesn't even become an issue. You kind of can prevent that one from even happening.
Yeah, if you set up separately.
Absolutely.
That's what I will definitely do for the safety of everybody involved, really.
And let's look at it this way. If you have a separate run with a very small coop that you're going to use for breeding, that can also second as your hospital run and coop. So you can use it for multiple things, if you have a chicken that's sick at some point, and again, as the broody coop. So double purpose. You can get it.
Absolutely. And that's what we use them for as well, if necessary, to isolate older hens and make sure that they're okay and actually can go back to the flock without them being bullied. So, they've got all sorts of extra uses you can use them for.
Okay, that's great.
So why don't we go into the second scenario?
Chicks take quite a lot of time to hatch out the egg. And what can normally happen is the chick will pip, and then it can rest. And sometimes they rest for up to 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it can take a long time. Some of them will carry on and nibble all the way around the top of the egg and push the way out. But a lot of them will rest for quite a long time. Now, if they take too long to get out of the egg, or if the humidity isn't high enough, they can actually dry out in that period when they're resting.
Okay.
And that means that they stick to the egg. Now, if they stick to the egg, they can't nibble around the top of the egg.
To get out.
They can't get out of the egg.
Oh,
absolutely.
No.
And what you can end up with is a chick inside who's clearly having trouble trying to get out, calling, cheeping incredibly loudly, getting louder and louder and louder. What do? Are you going to assist? And this is a really, really, really delicate operation to sort out.
Okay.
Because what you need to do is to be able to moisten the inside of the egg without causing the chick to drown or be put into any distress into any way. So not getting too cold either. And gradually be able to peel the shell off the chick. And it can take hours to go through this operation. Now, what I do say to people is don't even contemplate doing this unless you're prepared to take the time and be very slow, because the chick skin is paper thin, absolutely wafer tissue thin. And you know yourself, if you're trying to peel something off that's stuck to something with skin so delicate, could end up ripping that skin so easily. So what could happen is if you don't take your time, you could end up putting the chicken more pain than it would to let it slip away naturally.
Okay.
So here's a question. If that chick is under a broody hen, when that's happening, what does the broody hen normally do? Does she try to intervene and assist the chick, or does she not?
She doesn't intervene at all. The broody hen won't help a chick out of the egg. Okay. They will simply walk off because at some point the older chicks will be wanting to go outside, and the broody hen will normally, on roughly the second day after hatching begins, will take the chicks outside for food and water. Whether there's food and water in the coop, they will still have a natural instinct to go out and almost hunt for food like they would in the wild. So they will take the chicks out. Any chicks which have failed to hatch at that point or are not ready to follow the broody hen will be left behind. And that's actually the third scenario to think about.
Right.
What are you going to do in those circumstances?
Here's the other thing. If you have an incubator and you put the humidity up higher, can you take the egg, if you're trying to intervene and help, and put this in the incubator, put the egg with the chick in the incubator for a little while to moisten and help her, give her some time to get a little bit more strength to get herself out of the egg?
It depends how long it's been going on for. If they are too adhered to the inside of the shell by the point they go into the incubator, no, it's not going to work. But if they've only just started to stick and they've still got a little bit of wiggle room, which allows the humidity to get into the egg and add a little bit of moisture, yeah, absolutely, they'll still be able to get out of the egg.
So that's the other thing. Having an incubator on hand, even if you're using a broody hen, is part of that breeding plan and is a good thing to do. In case this happens and you want to intervene, you will need an incubator.
That's one of the biggest reasons why we have one, is to take care of those chicks, because there will be chicks as well which have just hatched. They won't have dried out. They won't be strong enough to follow the broody hen out, but we've got the opportunity to give them a chance, because otherwise they'll die of hypothermia.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what would happen out in, out of the domestic environment. Those chicks would just die.
So the incubator can be a breeder's best friend in assisting and intervening and giving you a tool, as we say, in the toolbox to go to help you. So it's really a good thing to have.
Really, with all these uses, I feel like it would behoove me to invest in the best incubator I could possibly afford, because it has different uses.
Yeah.
We actually have two. We have a very, very cheap one and we have a very good quality one. And they have uses in two different ways. The very cheap one, we never use it as an incubator, but what we do use it for is for those chicks which have actually managed to get out of the egg but aren't strong enough to follow the broody hen. It's a nice little warm environment. It doesn't have to be great at incubating. It doesn't need to turn any eggs well. It doesn't need to really monitor the temperature too closely. As long as it's in a rough parameter, it's okay.
Right.
Okay.
And the chicks have chance to recover. And the humidity, because they're already out of the egg, humidity doesn't matter as much either.
Right.
So the very cheap incubator is great for that, but they're not good at incubating, it has to be said.
So it will handle the drying and warming part of this.
Yeah.
It almost feels like we've had our mishap with our delivery of our chicks being chilled.
Right.
This could be another tool in the toolbox. If in the US, you get 1 day old chicks shipped to you, and in the shipping process, they're chilled. That might even be a good tool in the toolbox to have just for
to be able to tuck a baby in there would have made a lot. I mean, again, we had some things in place, and we ended up using a hairdryer on our chick that we didn't think would make it. And luckily she pulled through, but it would have been wonderful to have a warm space like that to tuck her into to recover.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. So you could get dual purposes out of it for sure.
Yeah, you can buy them very, very cheaply on places like eBay. We actually got ours, I think it was shipped from China actually, and it was, I think it was £20. It was ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, so it's a good.
That is a good and inexpensive tool. Yeah.
But
you've also then got the problem of giving the chicks back to the broody hen as well, because you can't give them back straight away. So having a brood plate or a heat lamp is a necessity too, because they need to be kept warm for a reasonable amount of time. And usually what we do is let the chick gather a lot of strength, till it looks like a normal chick. It's fluffed up and it's running around and it's really a little bit enthusiastic. Then we wait till that next night, wait till the broody hen is asleep, and then we just slip the chick in underneath the wing, and it naturally burrows its way underneath the broody hen. The broody hen doesn't wake up, doesn't even bat an eyelid, and then it's part of the little group the next morning. It works really well. We've never had it fail.
And what we've talked about in the past is the Brincy and the heat lamp working together in conjunction. You can use both, and both together are wonderful. Having those things, and I can't say it enough, all these tools in your toolbox or your plan, be prepared, because when stuff happens, you're going to be upset. You're not going to be thinking straight. But if you have the proper tools, you can help and you can intervene.
That's why it's a plan where you're taking action ahead of time to make sure you have these things in reserve in case you need them right then and there.
It takes the stress off of you a little bit because you've pre-thought about something. So you're like, okay, this happened. This is why I have this. Let's do it. Otherwise, you're kind of going to be fight or flight, and you're not going to be able to think straight, and you're not going to have the equipment that you need.
And you only need to buy them once. That's it. Once you buy them, you've got them.
Exactly.
That's true. Okay, Fiona, what's the next leg of our plan?
Pasty butts.
Ooh.
Yes.
There's no response to that, really, is there? I mean,
we got quiet. We're like, oh, yeah, I've been there, done that.
The pasty butt.
Just in case not every listener knows what pasty butt is. Pasty butt is this lovely thing that chicks have where they poop and they don't know how to squat. So the feces get caught on the down feathers, it dries, then the next poop that comes out gets caught on that, and it builds up and it builds up, and then it sets like concrete. It really does set like concrete. And there's a myth out there that pasty butt doesn't happen with broody hens. I can guarantee it does.
Okay.
Absolutely does.
Yeah, you see everywhere.
I think it probably happens less with broody hens, but it does happen.
And so do you deal with it pretty much the same way we do, where you're just cleaning all the time, or what do you do?
Little cotton buds, warm water.
Okay.
That's exactly what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, very careful, very slowly. And this is where mistakes can be made again. Because it sets like concrete, it's got to be slow. Can't rush it, because the chicks, once they're a few days old, their skin is a little bit more robust, but still not that robust. So moving too fast, skin can be easily torn. So
it happened to us. We were cleaning up one of the Egyptian Fayumi chicks, and they are very, very active little girls. And we had one almost clean, and she just jerked her body, and the feathers tore a little bit. There was a little bit of blood. We felt so terrible. We cleaned it up and we put some silver ointment.
Accidents happen though. Yeah.
Yeah. It still gives me chills when I think about it. She was so tiny and she was fine, but it is so easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
And it is one of these things where just slow and steady, but things still will happen.
Right.
And you just need to be prepared for that. I mean, you had your first aid kit on hand, and this is the other thing actually to be prepared for. Have a very basic first aid kit on hand, ready to roll, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and we always say that with the chicks, you will need a slightly different first aid kit or a section of your first aid kit just for the chicks.
Which I think we talk about in
Chicks 101. We talk back. So if you're hearing this and you want to know about it, go back to Chicks 101 and re-listen. We talk about the separate parts that you will need for chicks. Cotton balls and warm water will definitely help. And you can just very warm soak. And if you, even in the very first few days, what I do is check them multiple times during the day, so you catch it before it even gets hard, and then you can just get it off.
Probably easier if they're in a brooder than if the broody hen has them.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, with the broody hen, there is a little bit of a difficulty. It's easy to get the chicks at night when they're roosting with mum. But mum is very defensive if they're out during the day, and particularly to free ranging like ours. I mean, ours are very calm, so it is a little bit easier for us to catch them than probably it would be for other people.
Okay.
But I had this bought as a joke gift for me, and it actually works really, really well. Do you remember when you were younger, you might have gone out to gather frog spawn with a little net, which it's almost like a loosely woven cloth. It's not a net as such.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you catch a chick with one of those, you're not going to hurt it because there's no little holes really for it, little wings to get caught in.
Okay.
This thing is amazing, and it's got a telescopic handle on it.
Wow.
So if I ever need to use it, it's an easy way to catch those chicks which are running around, because with pasty butt, as you know yourself, I mean, chicks eat so much, they go through so much material because they're growing so fast. Mm-hmm. They poop a lot. And with pasty butt, unless you get on top of it very quickly, it can actually cause them serious problems, even kill them quite quickly.
Yes. Yeah. And what we say too is we sometimes crumble a little bit of oatmeal and add it on top of their food.
Someone told me that, and
it works.
It was like an old-time chicken keeper. I cannot remember who told me this. They told me this years ago. Crumble a little bit of oatmeal. If it's the old-fashioned or the quick oats, you can just crumble it. If it's more of a whole oat, you can give it a zip in a coffee grinder or something like that. And it does seem to work. I don't know why. I guess maybe it firms things up a little more.
It added fiber, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit of fiber to it.
Yeah.
And so it works. You can just crumble it right on top of the food. A little bit, not a lot.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things.
To be honest, we've moved away from chick crumb, and we get some tiny, tiny micro pellets now. So they're compressed into little micro pellets, and we haven't had as much pasty button chicks at all since we've been using that.
I've looked for
and it doesn't cause as much mess either in their feeders. It's much nicer all around.
They kick the crumble everywhere.
I mean, we're like cleaning brooders like 2-3 times a day over here.
I looked for the micro crumbles after you mentioned them to us once before, and I did not find them here yet.
What you might be able to find is quail food. Now, quails obviously need a much smaller size pellet.
Right.
But the only thing to be aware of is that they will have some calcium in them. So clearly they can't eat that for a long period of time because the calcium could potentially damage the kidneys.
Okay. Yep. Well, we'll just keep our fingers crossed that micro pellets for chicks show up here soon.
So I think we're ready to move on to the final thing that you really need to be aware of. Accidents can happen with chicks and a broody hen.
Yeah, I mean, chicks are so tiny and broody hens are so big. And actually, this is true if they're in an incubator or a brooder, because you could have chicks trying to jump out of, if you've got them in a box or if you've got them in an old tin bath, whatever you're keeping them in, they could try and jump out, get themselves into difficulty, torn skin, they could peck each other. There's all sorts of things that could happen. But with broody hens, because they're so big, there is a chance that there could be crush injuries. It does happen.
A lot of the breeds that we use for brooding tend to be bigger. Cochins, Brahmas, Orpingtons.
Yeah. And the thing is, those injuries are normally catastrophic with a crush injury. So actually, there's nothing to think about because the solution is final. Okay. But it can happen that they can be injured, sometimes badly, sometimes not so badly. And it's really just sitting down as a family before you go through this process and think, at what point am I going to intervene? At what point do I need to get a vet involved? Do I need to make a decision to stop that chick having pain before we even manage to get it to a vet? What are the criteria for me to take action, and what is that action going to be? Now, we actually have one fantastic Orpington called Frankie, and I might have mentioned it before. I called her my disabled chicken because she had a very, very serious injury when she was about three days old. Her brood hen stood on her head. Now, that injury should have been fatal, but she was still running around. She had a flattened head. She'd lost a lot of the skin from one side of her head. She was showing no sign of pain, no sign of slowing down. And we did take advice from a vet because This is an injury which normally we would have put her out of her misery, quite frankly, but she wasn't miserable.
We talked about Frankie in episode 19 because you said her weight is not as high as most Orpingtons because she's never eaten properly.
No, she does have side effects now. So she has difficulty in seeing. She has never eaten a full amount. So she is quite underweight, but she is running around. She is healthy. She is a good member of the flock. She's not the bottom of the hierarchy by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, she's probably at the top of the middle half of the hierarchy.
Okay. So clearly her quality of life
is high,
is excellent, right?
Yeah, and actually she's one of our most prolific and successful broody hens as well. She is so gentle with the chicks. You have never seen anything like it. She's wonderful. But she runs with a pronounced limp.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Before anyone starts brooding, the most responsible thing is to think about your plan. And think about the equipment that you're going to get and that you're going to potentially need. And the last part is, if you have a veterinarian that treats your chickens regularly, to have them on speed dial and know if you need to intervene with them to do it. Sometimes that's not always possible. And then that's when you have to sit down as a family and, know if you need to take a further step within the family and you can't get to the vets, who and when that's going to happen. But the main thing is, have the plan.
Yeah, you don't want to try to make the decision when this has happened and you have this problem right in front of you.
Because you're going to be emotional, it's going to be sad, and you're going to be fight or flight. So having the plan will.
I panicked.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I must admit, through the first time we experienced all of these scenarios, I panicked. And I think that's a natural reaction. So that's not the time to have to think about what am I going to do.
Right.
And that's the glory of all of this. And this is why we like to talk to you about these things, because this is what you do. You've come across these problems, and we're trying to prevent someone else from having that panic when you have the toolbox and everything right there. Yeah, you're going to panic at first, but you have the tools to help.
You're prepared.
And you know that these things are a possibility. As in life, we wish every single chick would just hatch and be beautiful and healthy, but we have to be a little realistic and know that that may not happen every time. So to have these things on hand will help you immensely.
It's the kind of preparation that really allows you to be a responsible breeder.
Yeah. I mean, you want to help them anyway.
Yeah. And I don't want anyone to listen to this conversation and think that this is the norm. These things will always happen.
Right.
But they do happen. You won't be able to breed chickens and not come across at least one of these scenarios. It's virtually impossible.
Being a vet tech for 15 years, I'm calm, cool, and collected. I ran a trauma team for many years. So I ran the techs that would come in and told them what to do in a trauma. But when it's my own animals, I'm not as calm, cool, and collected without a plan.
No,
I wish I'd had you on speed dial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, Joe always says to me, you handled this a million times over. And I said, but it's different when it's your own. Have that plan in place. That's why we wanted to come to you. You're the expert on breeding. You know about it. And we can share our information with everybody.
Yeah, it's not an easy conversation to have. It's not fun. It's not all laughs, but being prepared and taking some of your suggestions can go a long way.
But there are some amazing things with chicks. That's the best thing about them. There are a lot of things to think about. There are a lot of things to plan for, but the rewards are amazing too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, definitely. And and you know what? Just being prepared will make those rewards even better because you won't even have to second guess anything. You'll just be happy in the happy moments and be prepared for the ones that may not be happy.
But if there was one thing I would say out of this whole lot, whatever you do, buy an incubator, buy a brooder plate or heat lamp.
That's excellent advice.
Those are they're really the essentials to have on hand. Yeah.
And if you can, and if you're going the broody hen way, and you know that you're going to do that in the future, invest in a small coop and make a yard that you can use as a broody hen yard and coop and a hospital yard and coop. Believe me, we've all been there. We've all had those things happen.
And those things probably, I would imagine, having the broody coop in yard right there, you're going to cut down statistically on your chances of accidents.
Yeah, you can knock out a few of them just by prepping.
Right. So Fiona, what is your absolute favorite thing about breeding?
Watching the broody hens and the chicks running around the grass, watching them running around those fields is just, I sit for hours, honestly.
Oh.
You sit with your coffee and watch your chickens.
Yes.
I could never actually get up from my seat on some days sitting with a coffee watching them. It just makes me so happy.
Better than TV.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
It is. It's chicken TV. It's great.
Chicken
Yeah,
TV.
it's chicken TV.
That's great.
It's awesome. So we want to thank you for coming on again and sharing all of your tips.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, we do want to tell you that Fiona has a YouTube channel, English Country Life, and go ahead over, show her some love, subscribe. And the videos that you put on are absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So informative and so educational.
I will have links to all of them in the show notes as well.
Yes. So thank you again.
And I'll have an accompanying video for this discussion as well, so everyone can see some of the examples and the visuals that go with it.
Also linked in the show notes, and check it out because, again, as Chrissy said, the videos are beautiful and you learn tons.
Yes. So until next time,
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, Fiona. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So we're ready to move on to our main topic.
I'd say so.
What we want to talk about today are the 5 top favorite heritage breed layers. These are the ones that are going to lay the most eggs for you.
Right, and we went with heritage breeds just to push for the breeds that are on the Livestock Conservancy's poultry conservation list.
Exactly.
And of the 5, we have 3 of the 5, don't we?
Yes. So we're right up there in egg production.
Absolutely.
Well, one is not laying eggs yet.
That's okay, she will.
Oh, she will.
She'll outlay everyone.
According to Joe.
So you go ahead with our first, what's our number 1?
Leghorn.
Yeah, the white egg. They lay roughly 5 eggs a week.
I'm telling you, she almost lays every single day mine.
Lucy the Leghorn, she's a laying
Lucy
machine.
is like a laying machine.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you this. We've said it before. They don't undereat. People say, oh, get this bird. She doesn't need as much feed.
Well, I think the thing is, especially in an industrial setting, they
That-
can get by with less feed and they might get a smaller ration. But in your flock, Lucy gets to eat all she wants and she eats tons.
Lucy, I love that chicken. She's our number 1
She's our
Leghorn.
number 1, yeah. Our second is the Polish.
Okay, how can you go wrong with stylish and a great leg
Absolutely.
egg layer?
Again, a white egg. I actually didn't know they were such good layers until recently.
No, not until we started researching
But
them.
I've seen them described as, and I quote, insistent layers.
They're like, I gotta lay an egg.
So they're often 5 a week as well.
Okay. Now the third is a breed that you have, the Dominique, which we talk about early on.
Episode 3.
Yes.
Go listen to episode 3. Episode 3 needs more love. The Dominique is a fantastic chicken. They lay a light brown, sort of pinkish egg.
And you have Miss Dolly.
Dolly lays 4 to 5 eggs a week. She's a fantastic layer, fantastic personality. She deals with the Swedish flowers just fine.
Oh, so she's in there with them too.
Yeah, but she's very gentle and she hangs out with the Brahmas a lot of the time too.
She's like, please save me.
If the grid went down in post-apocalyptic world and you had to pick the chicken that worked best in your environment, it would be Dominique for me all day long.
I don't know which one mine would be. Mine are going to be sleeping on my head in my bed because apparently everybody said that happens. They're going to come after my chickens. And I'm like, oh no, the bed's going to be really full.
If it's a post-apocalyptic world where people respect your flock of chickens and they're going to be free-ranging, I'd go with Dominique. Otherwise, if they had to be in bed with me, you know it's the Brahmas.
Okay, so the next one
is the Rhode Island Red.
Spicy. So we have one, and she's a baby. She's not laying yet, and her name is Spicy.
And we should note that this is the non-production Rhode Island Red. The same as the Leghorn is
Right.
the non-production
Exactly.
Leghorn.
So
the
we
non-industrial.
will find out how she does with laying eggs.
She'll be a great layer. She really will.
Let's say this. We've talked about Rhode Island Reds before and how they kind of have a personality that's less than snuggly.
Right.
This chicken, snuggler.
Well, she was a really bold chick from day one.
Oh, yeah. But bold in a good way.
Yeah. And she's very charming.
She looks you dead in the eye.
Yes.
She's looked you dead in the eye from day one.
She really has. She runs to you.
And wants to be with you.
Yeah. She's a real sweetheart.
So how this one will play out, we'll see.
Well, you can expect 4 to 5 beautiful brown eggs from her per week.
Her and Lucy will be best friends.
Yes, they So our last chicken is not one we have profiled yet, although we are going to do them in an upcoming episode.
And neither one of us has.
Right, and they're beautiful chickens.
Oh, yeah. We were looking at pictures.
Yeah, it is the Lakenvelder.
Yes.
They lay a cream egg. You're looking at 4 to 5 eggs a week again.
They're beautiful black and white chickens.
Beautiful chickens.
Yeah.
They really are. The interesting thing to me, let's see, what do we have? We have 2 American chickens, 1 Italian chicken, and then 2 Continentals.
Yep.
So we're all across the board.
We're a mixed bag.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff.
Good stuff. All these chickens lay great eggs.
Fantastic breeds.
Oh, yeah. And there's something good about every single one of these breeds.
Absolutely.
So you can't go wrong. If you want high backyard production,
right,
one of these breeds should be at least one of your chickens.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to move on to...
We get the double crack every week now.
I know.
We are cracking some eggs.
Cracking the eggs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring frittata.
Yes, it's a spring frittata. We're staying simple with our cracking the eggs this week because we are up to our eyeballs in garden party planning.
Garden party.
Yeah.
I wanted to do this because I just like to say frittata.
Frittata, yes.
Frittata.
A lot of different ethnicities and nationalities have a version of the frittata.
You can make it your own in any way, shape,
Absolutely. Frittatas are an Italian dish similar to an omelet or a crustless quiche, but generally cooked in a skillet on your stovetop.
This is what I do all the time.
Uh-huh.
I make frittatas all the time.
They're usually full of vegetables, meat, cheese, and my favorite, leftover pasta.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic in a frittata. It's a rustic dish, can be served for any meal, though it's often used for dinner.
Yes.
A quick, easy, and very good dinner.
I mean, you partially cook on the stovetop.
Yeah.
Then pop it in the oven to finish baking it.
I don't usually pop it in the oven.
Oh, I do.
I do it a different way.
Okay.
So I was taught when your frittata is cooked, it's mostly set. You slide it onto a plate and invert the plate back over the skillet.
Oh, so you steam the rest of it, basically?
No, you flip it over.
Oh.
So it's cooking from the bottom that way.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can pop it in the oven.
That's what I've done before. Yeah. That's why I use the cast iron, because it goes directly into the oven.
I was taught the plate inversion method.
Huh.
And that's what I'm used to. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. Our spring frittata, we kept it simple.
Yes.
It has fresh sweet green peas, chopped radishes and greens, and Asiago cheese.
Yes.
For the cheese eaters, I used vegan mozzarella. I'm really jealous of that Asiago though. That's good.
That's the
cheese.
one thing I think I would really miss is the cheese.
That is by far the hardest part for me.
I mean, it's kind of hard to get cheese.
You can't. I mean, vegan cheese, as we've said before, is tasty. It's better than no cheese at all.
Right.
But it's not cheese.
It's not cheese.
It's not cheese. So I do miss cheese very much, but that's okay.
Here's the other thing, which Pete will be happy. The frittata is served in a pie slice.
Yes.
Because we know that Pete loves pies.
He loves the pies. The only thing he loves better than pie is cake.
So, but he can pretend this is dessert, but it's really dinner.
He married the right woman.
He did.
So the frittatas are usually cut in wedges, as you were saying.
Like a pie.
Yep, and served alongside salad or vegetables.
Yeah, put asparagus in this frittata, which would be really good. I mean, there's just so many things you could do.
Absolutely.
You could make a pizza frittata.
Then Pete would be all over that. If you served him a slice of pizza frittata.
So say, like, you can't have crust, and you put pizza sauce in there.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just put the cheese.
Melt the cheese.
Exactly.
Low carb.
Yep.
And really good.
I mean, you can do so many things with this. With so many eggs, you need egg ideas right now.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So send us your pictures. We want to see all the recipes. We want to see you guys making these things.
Simple, delicious. Can't go wrong. Using
so
other spring
good.
eggs. Yeah.
So let's move on to retail therapy. Retail therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. So retail therapy this week is something that we've been going crazy with lately.
It's a new passion of ours.
Yes, it is.
And we're searching everywhere.
Yeah.
As everyone knows out there, we are thrifters. We love thrift stores.
No, we never talk about thrifting.
It's the thrill of the hunt of treasure.
It is.
The three-legged chair. We have to find it.
What episode do we talk about the three-legged chair? So people have a
I'm not sure. We go in one of our episodes. It might have been Vintage Roosters.
Okay.
When we talk about getting vintage roosters, I mentioned that a long time ago when Joe and I were first married. We saw this show that said there's a three-legged chair out there worth $1 million.
So this is if you're thrifting, what things you should keep your eye out for. So he's always looking for the three-legged chair.
Yes.
But he's got a good eye in a thrift store.
Today we were thrifting with my husband Joe.
Yeah.
And he loves to show us the stuff.
Yeah. He's got a good eye.
He
found
does.
some transferware
for you.
saucers. Yeah, it was good stuff.
It was.
So vintage egg dishes, and by vintage egg dishes we mean deviled egg plates.
Oh, yes. So again, we've talked about deviled eggs in another episode. You can make that recipe your own.
Yes.
And you want to serve it on a really cool dish. And these dishes have little cutouts for the eggs.
Yeah, it's a little oval, because deviled eggs will slide around if
They'll
you're trying to
slide.
carry them in a platter. Deviled eggs themselves became fashionable in the 1930s as a snack to accompany like drinks and cocktails.
Oh, yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
And who doesn't like deviled eggs? Everybody loves
They
them.
really are delicious. But as a result, potteries and china and glass companies started designing and mass-producing egg dishes that would make pretty serving pieces and stop the eggs from sliding around. You can find them in a wide variety of materials and finishes, and they usually turn up regularly in thrift stores and online marketplaces.
Oh, yeah. Those are the places to check for them. Number 1, thrift stores.
Uh-huh.
Number 2, online, such as eBay.
Etsy, yeah.
And Etsy.
Uh-huh.
And those places you are going to pay a little bit for.
Right, but sometimes they have the manufacturer identified for you already.
Right.
They can tell you what period they're from.
Now, here's the thing. I'm on Facebook, just as me too, sometimes, and I search Marketplace sometimes to see if there's somebody local that's selling something.
Right.
I just got the best 2 vintage egg dishes.
Yeah, they're really good
From
ones.
another local
Uh-huh.
woman who is selling them, and you can find them anywhere.
You can. Some of the popular manufacturers are Fire King,
Yes.
which you'll know if you collect anything vintage, Anchor Hocking,
Yep.
the Indiana Glass Company,
Yes.
Spode,
Fenton.
Fenton Glass, yeah, Hazel Atlas,
And my most favorite,
Yeah.
Pyrex.
yes,
So anybody who knows me knows that I collect
you are the Pyrex queen.
vintage Pyrex
Yeah.
and Fire King.
Right,
Vintage
right.
Fire King.
Mhm.
The other thing about Fire King is the older version of Anchor Hocking. Anchor Hocking bought out Fire King.
So if you find something that's marked Fire King, it's probably older than
Yes.
Anchor Hocking.
And both are fantastic.
Yeah.
But Fire King's going to be the older version of
Okay.
something. And I love Fire King as much as I love Pyrex.
Uh-huh.
I love this stuff.
I love that so much of their stuff is milk glass. I love milk glass.
Oh, yeah. When we were looking, we've been in thrift stores and finding these egg dishes.
Right.
And loving it.
Yeah.
And then we realized you got one the other day
There's a Fire King.
that I already had.
Yeah. Which is funny, yeah. It's a really nice eggplant.
I think
We'll have that one.
when we looked at each other, I was like, I already have that one.
Yeah, yeah. So I got to score that one. So some versions are really fancy and include coordinating salt and pepper shakers,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes in the shape of chicken.
Yep.
Really cool. We've seen them as eggs as well, salt and pepper shakers. There can be really plain round dishes. We've
Clear.
seen some that are footed,
Yes.
like a cake plate, in animal shapes like the 2 that you just got.
Yes.
They can be glass, both transparent and colored. There's some milk glass, there's some clear colored glass.
And also, I had such a dear friend of mine give me one that was her grandmother's.
Oh, cool.
Because she's like, you can use this way more than me.
Okay.
They're just so cool to collect.
They really are. You can find them in porcelain, fine china. You can find them in sturdier ceramics. And occasionally you can find wooden ones, which are beautiful.
Wow. I've never
Yeah.
seen that. Here's the other thing. If you want to display your actual eggs
Uh-huh.
for a really pretty picture, use one of these trays.
My mom used to put eggs in them when we dyed them for Easter.
Yeah.
Not even the deviled egg, the whole egg.
Oh, yeah.
Unpeeled.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
dyed.
Like, if you want to, I've done it before for us.
Yeah,
I used the vintage egg dish that my friend gave me.
right.
And it puts them perfectly where you want them to
Oh,
be.
yeah, yeah.
It's great. And they're so much fun.
Uh-huh.
And we were looking today, we were just out looking, we were online looking how many.
Oh, there's tons of them.
You're not going to get them for less than $10 on the computer, though. Nowhere
Generally not.
near.
Yeah, you need to pay shipping. If you find them in person, depending on the make and the value, you can find a lot of them that are 10 and under. But if you're buying them from someone who knows that, hey, this is a Fire King, you're probably not going to, you're going
Right.
to pay a premium for that one.
Exactly. So it's best to find them in the wild.
Collector speak for out there.
Out there in a thrift store
Yard
or
sale, whatever.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Sometimes if local people are like, I don't want this anymore.
Right.
I want to sell it. So those are really good yard sales, like you said.
Yeah. Once we get back to yard sailing.
That'll be soon.
I hope so. So Covels, you know who the Covels are?
Yes.
Yeah, they do antique valuing. They note that deviled egg dishes were at the height of their popularity in the 50s,
Makes sense.
right, and sort of going into the 60s, but they're still made today.
Yeah, it makes sense because back then there was a rise in backyard chicken keeping.
And there's so much just like chicken stuff made in the 50s, glasses and
Yes,
all those
all
sorts
kinds of stuff because we've talked about this many times on the podcast. You want what you're doing to represent you.
You want to be surrounded with things that you love, or
So,
that represent the things you love, your passions.
Late 50s, 60s, there was a rise in backyard chicken keeping. A lot of stay-at-home moms, and houses had more space.
Right.
So they wanted a flock of chickens. Plus, we're coming off of the Depression in the 30s, 40s.
Right, the wars.
So let's get eggs in case something happens.
Sure.
Let's get chickens. They have the eggs. There's so much stuff made mid-century.
Yeah.
That is chickens because so many people were into chickens, kind of like right now.
Right. Right now, without the rush to modernization.
Yeah.
The industrial part going along with this.
Yeah. I kind of think that's on a decline right now.
Probably.
Which is good.
Yes.
I mean, Alyssa was telling me the other day, she went to a store and they were selling blue and brown eggs.
Yeah, I saw them as well. For a premium, it was like $6 for a dozen.
At a store that normally does not charge that much.
Exactly.
So it is a turn to go back to natural, which we talked about before.
Right.
But these vintage egg dishes were a way to serve up your eggs from your backyard, so they were popular.
They're an absolutely lovely addition to a party spread because, as we've said 1,000 times, who doesn't like deviled eggs?
Which we're going to have at our garden party.
We really are. We're going to have plenty of them. We talk about our favorite deviled egg variations in episode 9.
Yes.
The 5 ways.
There was a lot of them.
Yeah.
And actually, there's even more ways.
Oh, tons of ways.
It's another thing because our recipes, we love to put out there to make your own.
Yeah.
Put your own mark. And that's why this is what we do.
Right.
We are about chickens.
Yes, we are.
So we're like, okay, let's put it out there. Chicken vintage dishes. They're so cool. It's like, you can't go wrong with it.
No, you can't. They're fantastic. So,
that leads us to, what are we talking about next week?
Well, next week, we're going to talk about the Dorking.
Yes.
A heritage breed chicken. Cracking the eggs, we're going to do my lemon curd recipe.
It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Join us next week. But until then,
hug your chickens every day.
Every day and kiss them too. Don't forget. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to see more of us, please follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help us grow the podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to become a patron of the show so that we can bring you even more high-quality chicken content, please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. Thanks for listening.